Well, look, the situation is this. We just saw Niners owner Jed York at a ceremony where former fullback Tom Rathman was inducted into the team's Hall of Fame. So we had some conversations with him. We heard John Lynch say, and he kind of echoed it, they know two or three players that they really like at number two. Now, one of those players sounds like it could be Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback. Now, do they really want him? They've kind of said some of the things the Browns do. They don't say they're necessarily desperate for a quarterback, but at the same time, they say they need a franchise quarterback to get where they want to go. Could it be they're talking about Trubisky a little bit to maybe get a team to come up to number two? I was told that they have received phone calls about the second pick. No teams were given about who's calling, but I will tell you this. They are going through dress rehearsal scenarios through the day on the clock in case they get trade calls for number two, what freight they would take in exchange for the number two pick from different slots. They are going through everything to be precise because even though there's 10 minutes between picks, they do not want to get caught off guard. They are also preparing in case Myles Garrett does drop to number two. Would they take him? Sure. But if teams call for Garrett, how far would they go back to get some players that they want? They wouldn't mind coming off that number two pick to collect players. We know this team is bereft of talent at a lot of spots, so that's something that's developed right there. But the main thing today, they are going through dress rehearsals with a first-time GM and John Lynch and a first-time head coach Kyle Shanahan, who have not been in this situation before, to make sure that they are on point when things start to fall into place tomorrow. And again, if none of those scenarios come into play, they know the two or three players they'd like to take at number two, Andrew.
Yeah, this is fascinating here because I know people
Absolutely.
say, well, why would you ever field calls from Myles Garrett? Well, look, if he's there, your phone is going to ring, and you have to decide in advance what you're willing to take to get out of that pick and how far you're willing to fall. But a year ago, John Lynch is doing television here. A year ago, Kyle Shanahan right now during the offseason program is installing an offense, new plays that he has cooked up in the offseason in Atlanta. Who's making that call, Steve, when the phone does ring tomorrow? Because it's going to ring either way.
Well, it's going to ring. And one thing Lynch said is that when it all comes down to it, him and Shanahan, they will decide on the final call. Right now, there's no scenarios, at least at two, where they're going to have to say, okay, Shanahan's going to say, I'm going to exert my authority over the roster and make the final call. All we've heard all along from Lynch and Shanahan and Jed York today is that this is a collaborative effort, that Shanahan and Lynch have worked very well together. If they don't necessarily agree on a player, they have finessed it out to see if they can come to an agreement, or they move on to somebody else. So again, the final call will be made collaboratively between Lynch and Shanahan. Jed York and other people will be in the room, but those two have been entrusted with this franchise for the next 6 years, and they'll be the ones making the call, Andrew.
The dynamics of a new draft room recently assembled. Always interesting to watch throughout the league, especially when that team is number two. And you mentioned Jed York. I know, Steve, you had a chance to talk to him.